Hi guys, for today's trade of the day, we'll be looking at the pound yen. And as usual, we will take a look by starting off with the monthly chart. Now, what I like to do on the monthly is really to look for long-term resistance, long-term support, right? And then this long-term resistance, long-term support, I'll search for them first by means of graphical levels. After which, I would actually use Fibonacci ratios by whether retracement or extensions to find confluence and make sure that these levels are strong levels, right? So offhand, we have I see graphically that we have a long-term support at this level, right? Let me just change the template. So this is the long-term support that I have found. Okay, and let's try to confirm that with Fibonacci levels. I can take a retracement from a swing low here to the swing high. And let me open up all the ratios. I realize that this level, this long-term support level, is sort of in a zone where it's close to the 88% retracement. And actually, it's also close to the historical lows, right? But we want to focus more on recent prices. So let me just leave the 88 ratio here and try to find whether there's any other confluence that I can get. I will take an extension. Looks like a big zigzag. Swing high to the low here and to the high. And I pull out all Fibonacci ratios. And I can see that this zone really falls quite close to the 50% extension level. Okay, so this is clearly a zone. Let me just highlight that. Okay, so now I have this zone. I can confidently say that this will be our long-term support. And let me just highlight it out to show that this actual fact, the zone. Okay, now what I see also graphically from this high here, this recent high, will be our long-term resistance. Okay, now same thing, we want to confirm this by means of Fibonacci ratio. So I take from the swing high to the swing low, a retracement. I pull out all the Fibonacci ratios, and I see that this swing high is close to the 50% ratio right here. So we take this 50%, and I see whether I can find any other extensions with it. This small 1, 2, 3 point. I'm thinking it could be close to the 100%. So let me just try and check with the 100%. And yes, the 100% lines up perfectly with the 50% retracement. So these two are strong levels. Can safely call this our long-term resistance. So now I have this both of these levels in. Let's go down to the weekly. And let me tidy this up for you. Alright, let me tidy this up first. Long-term 50 and long-term 88%. Alright, so we see that prices have actually been moving sideways since October 2016. So it's been moving sideways, and I can also see that price has been sort of since January 2018, price has been drifting lower, making lower highs here, 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 and here. So price has been making lower highs, confirm that this is really, in actual fact, a long-term descending trend. Okay, so what I like to do on the weekly right now is to look for the weekly resistance and weekly support. Okay, since price actually reacted above the long-term support zone, I will not look for near-term weekly support. What I would like to do is I actually want to look for weekly resistance. right? And off the top graphically, I can see that I'll take this as a weekly resistance, and same thing, we use Fibonacci to see whether there's any confluence with any Fibonacci levels. So in terms of retracement, I take from the swing high here all the way to where price is spiked low, and I pull out all the Fibonacci ratios, and we see that this area, which is in line with the long-term descending trend line resistance, also falls perfectly with the 61.8 resistance. Okay, so this, we can safely say that this will be our weekly resistance. Want to do an extra check by using Fibonacci extension, swing low to swing high and back down to swing low, and just pull all the ratios, and we see that it's also close to the 100%, this level here. So I will not put this here because there will be too many lines, but I can confirm that this weekly resistance is a key level. And with that, what my current bias is on the weekly level is for price on the pound yen to actually push up towards the weekly resistance. Right, so that's my bias. All right, I have a bullish bias on the weekly chart. And with that, let's go down to the daily chart. Now we're on the daily chart, and what we want to do is we want to repeat the entire process again. So the long-term support, let's just tidy this up. Remember that this is really in actual fact a zone, but I just ignore this and let me just bring the ratio forward. So you guys remember that this is the long-term 88 and this is the long-term, this is the long-term 50%. Okay, and this is also the weekly 61.8. Now we can actually ignore this descending trend line resistance. Just remember it's in a downtrend, and we can actually ignore this long-term resistance because it's pretty far away. So what we want to do on the daily is actually to find a daily support, right? Daily support and daily resistance. But remember, our weekly we actually have a bullish bias, right, towards the weekly resistance. So what I'm thinking price could do is price could actually push down to a daily support or anywhere in this long-term zone and then make a push up towards the weekly resistance. So let's try to look for any support levels. I'll take a retracement from the swing low here to where price reacted recently, and I see that there's a 61.8. But before that, let me just pull all the ratios and see whether any level falls in line with a graphical level. So we have a graphical level here actually that price tested once and price tested a second time. Price could very well come down to test it a third time before taking off. So let me just put this as our daily support. Okay, so this will be our daily support level, and let me just highlight the 38% ratio. Okay, so we have a daily support level, and I want to find where's my daily resistance. Since price made such a sharp move down, I want to see how far I can retrace up. Take the retracement from swing high to the swing low here, and I open up all ratios. And I see that price actually reacted below the 50. And of course, there's still a graphical level here at the 61.8. So what I would like to really do is just to take the 50 and the 61, right? So the 50 will sort of be my intermediate resistance. And I will put a dotted line for intermediate resistance. And then I will draw a red line, a solid red line for daily resistance. Okay, so now we actually zoom in on this area because price is really right in the middle of daily support and daily resistance. While the weekly is bullish, what I think price can do, price can actually push up to this level and go down to the daily support before making a push up to the daily resistance and possibly even the weekly resistance. But let's go down to the 4 hours to really see where's the best place for entry. Right, and let's tidy this up. I'll take away this zone, so just remember that there's a support zone. If not, there's a huge chunk of green on your page. Okay, so these are the key ratios to remember that the long-term support, this is really a huge long-term support zone. Alright, okay, so now we have all these levels. What we really like to do is to try to find any points of entry that we can take. Okay, and just do a focus here just to check my extension. Take 0.1 to this swing high, to this swing low here, and I'll open up all the ratios just to see where price has reacted. And we see that price actually reacted close to the 88 and possibly even the 1 time. Alright, so this is interesting in the sense that I will actually use the daily support as my entry level, and I'll play a bounce to the daily resistance. Why I use the daily support as the entry level is because price has already rejected off the 50. It looks like it's going to drift lower. Alright, and it could just be a small retracement, this pullback to this support level before a push above the daily resistance. Now, alternatively, if price breaks above this dotted line, this intermediate resistance 134.77.3, I will play all the way to the weekly resistance. I just have to keep a lookout on my daily resistance. The bullish bias will be stronger if price is actually above the daily resistance. Right, so this is really how I will play it. I'll wait for price to come down to the daily support, and then I'll enter at the daily support at a 130.68 area. I'll play to the daily resistance as my first take profit, 137.15. And then once price reaches this daily resistance area, I'll take partial profits, about 50 to 75%, move my stop loss to break even, and then I will let the rest of the position run towards the weekly resistance, play in line with my weekly bias. So this is how I'll do a swing trade on the daily, intraday, and also on the longer term. Now we can also confirm this with indicators. Right, we see that the MACD is above the 0, so it's in the bullish zone, and we just use the indicator. We see that, let me just change this. I like to keep the moving average tight. Now, it's interesting to see that the 13 holds very well when market is trending, right? You see that the market holds above the 13 very well. And now the market is actually right on the moving average, which is why I gave you an alternative scenario that you can actually play, buy when the market is back at daily support, or buy once market has broken above this intermediate resistance. So that's the trade of the day that we have. Thank you for your time.